So you have raised, some money, and you're growing. You need to find some space to work in.
It's good to have a quick discussion with your co-founders and employees and what things are most important. So one of the things that I felt pretty strongly about was that we should have multiple conference rooms, because I personally find it hard to work in a big space with a lot of noise.
I personally am a big believer in having your own space, your own office to work in. Just not a big fan of the co-working spaces. In terms of finding an office, the way it worked for us is that we actually reached out to 42 Floors. They're another YC company, and the guys that run that company are just awesome, very responsive, and always open to feedback, by the way. And they ended up introing us to a firm that can basically help you find offices. And it's pretty straightforward. You want to make sure your space is not too big to begin with, or too small, and you have to kind of think about where you're at as a company and where you're going. For us, we were 4 people at that time, and we were hoping to grow to 7 or 8.
One thing I think that's important to optimize for is the location of the office. It makes a big difference in terms of hiring if their commute is 35 minutes versus 40 minutes. And so if you can optimize for even little things like there's a bus route along the way, or it's 2 blocks closer to a BART station, these things actually make a pretty big difference in terms of just the feel that a recruit has when they come in for an interview and they look at their watch and it only took them 10 minutes to get to work.
With our office agent, we started going through a lot of different listings. Unfortunately, all of the pictures in those listings were just the front of the building, so it's not too useful. We were living in Silicon Valley. We drove up to San Francisco, and we walked 8 offices in about 2.5 hours. We really hadn't slept much the night before. We were really busy building our product, recruiting, doing all the other stuff that we're supposed to be doing to move our company forward. And we get to San Francisco and just walk through a ton of offices. It was a blur, and they all look the same. A lot of them just were not going to work at all. They were built up way too much. We had a really tight timeline of about 4 weeks, which is not a lot of time for closing an office. And we narrowed it down to 3, but we really had our hearts set on one particular office. We then decided to move forward with signing the lease and negotiating with the building owner. And that took a lot of time, surprisingly. We thought that would take a day or 2. It ended up taking several weeks, and there was a lot of back and forth. We had a lawyer, so it was actually a pretty time-consuming process, and we were really surprised about that. And we were used to signing a lease for an apartment. This is really different. I think some of the things to be just cognizant of as you're signing that office lease is we look at the office, take a look at it, make sure that it doesn't need any repairs, or if it does need repairs, make sure to get those written into the actual lease itself. So the grand finale of the story is that we end up signing the lease the day before we move into the office. So we had to find movers, we had to get insurance, a lot of coordination with the building, and so that was way too hectic. I really recommend that if you're looking for an office, make sure to give yourself a lot of time. We just way underestimated the amount of time that it was going to take. So I think some of the takeaways from our experiences: give yourself more time to find an office. Use a site like 42 Floors to scope out the area, especially if you're in San Francisco. Helps a ton. Get an agent. They end up getting paid by the owner, the building owner. You don't have to pay them anything. And also have a lawyer to make sure that you review the lease and you have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted, and get all of the terms in place in that contract ahead of time, so you don't have any surprises once you move into the actual office. All right, well, good luck.